It's 6 a.m. in my
We ended our journey through Washington State filming at Long Shadow's Vintner's location in Walla Walla. The next wine region on our trip is to be Willamette Valley in northern Oregon. Yet just east of Walla Walla is a famous ski town called Sun Valley, Idaho. In hopes of keeping our spirit of winter wine adventures alive, we decided to make a quick stop here to meet up with a wine-interested professional skier named Amy Engerbretson and the Smith Optics team. This was just before we were going to head down and get into drinking some world-famous Pinot Noir.
I work at Smith Optics. Smith is Sun Valley. It's, it was one of the first ski resorts in the country, and you have people from all over the world who come here, from all over the country who come here. So I think it's really important that they're grounded here. The community knows who they are and that we're here, that we have a presence.
I mean, being in here, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I kind of grew up engulfed in the ski industry, engulfed in pro skiers, shooting, filming, movies, the whole thing. It's definitely just ingrained in my lifestyle. I didn't really know anything different. I've been with Smith from pretty much the beginning of my career. I really like the company. I love the relationship I have with people here, and I love the product as well. When Smith called me to see if I wanted to come up and film with the WINERAM crew, I was like, wait, so I just have to shred pow and drink wine? I'm in.
I fell in love with a girl from Frederick, and for almost 2 years she ran from me.
We've gone about an hour or two north today in the snow, which is coming down, and we've caught up with Yancey and Wyatt, who are going to be our guides. And there's another professional snowboarder by the name of Shane who rides for Smith. We're heading out into the terrain to see what kind of tracks we can get those pros on.
A lot of beer sponsors in the ski industry. My ski company is partnered with a beer company. The main Big Mountain Tour is sponsored by a beer company. I have never seen any wine sponsors alongside anything to do with skiing, but I do know a lot of skiers that like to drink wine.
After picking up Amy from Smith headquarters in Sun Valley, we began to head west. Now this time, our final destination was near Portland, Oregon. Portland's a city with a population of about 2,900,000 people that are all very liberal and forward-thinking when it comes to things like hipster coffee shops, the tattoo industry, or if you're into it, strip clubs where you can drink. What brought me there was a climate that differs slightly from where we were in Seattle on the west side of Washington. West of Portland, there's an area called the Willamette Valley. One thing you may hear when you hear about the Willamette Valley is that it sits really close on the same latitude that Burgundy, France does. Now, Burgundy is well known for producing Pinot Noir at a latitude of 47 degrees north, where we sit at about 45.2 degrees north here. So quite close, and the capabilities of Pinot Noir production, right on par. In this continental climate, and within the Willamette Valley AVA, there's a winery called Stoller Vineyards. That's where we're heading to meet up with their chief winemaker, Melissa, so that I can take Amy into my world of wine and see if she can appreciate the wine industry in the same way that I do when we hang out at Stoller Family Estate.
Getting into enjoying wine was one. The second was my husband. He was into horticulture, he grew up farming, all added up to us working together. Let's just look at this wine career, because Oregon was really growing quickly, as it still is. Bill Stoller, the owner of this property, is a third-generation Oregonian, so his history in Oregon goes way back. He grew up farming this piece of property that we have the vineyard on now, and he purchased it from his uncle who owned it in the mid-90s. Each year he planted more vineyard, and then in '01 he wanted to have a small label called Stoller for his family and friends. Things just keep growing. You're trying to think about what type of vintage was this Pinot Noir that I'm drinking in my glass from. A few things that I think about is, first I look at the color, and a lot of times the cooler years have wines that have a lighter color, a lighter level of color. Less alcohol is formed in the cooler years because you don't have as much starting material sugar to ferment, and that leads to an impression on the palate. Cooler vintages, I think you get more spice out of the wines and earth and a lot of acid, whereas if I'm drinking a Pinot Noir and you taste it and it's got lots of fruit, it does have some viscosity, it's juicy, it's kind of softer, it doesn't have as much tension and acid. That's typically from a warmer year, higher alcohol. How expressive of fruit versus earth is it? Can clue you in to what type of vintage it was.
I think I prefer the 10.
I didn't know which.
I like young wines.
You like young wines?
I like them young.
I got to properly learn how to taste wine today with Colin, which was great. I got to taste all the wines they make here at Stoller right now, and it was delicious, but it was also good to learn the proper way to kind of get the ins and outs and learn what you're actually tasting rather than just drinking wine like I usually do.
Angel shares evaporation of water and wine per day. There's several factors to consider when thinking about managing the angel share in the winery. One of them is the surface area. So the reason why we have evaporation happening in a barrel is because it's porous, and this barrel is round and large, so there's areas for evaporation all around. The less humid the air gets on the outside of the barrel, the more likely evaporation can occur. And every X amount of days you add more wine to those barrels, and that happens during the whole course of barrel aging. Each barrel, 75 mils per barrel every 2 weeks, this barrel sits here for 8.5 months. So over the course of that 8.5 months, we're going to go ahead and have to top 20 times. And at the end of that, this barrel will end up losing 1,500 mils per barrel. So on a bigger picture, here at Stoller, we've got about 420 barrels that all will assume do about the same activity.
And that's 2 bottles of wine per barrel that's evaporated.
It's just gone. And that's at the very low end, because this can fluctuate from this to almost double, depending on humidity and temperature and all that.
It's up to 4 bottles of wine
Yeah.
the angels are drinking per barrel.
420 barrels, if they do all the same thing, it sends up at 630,000?
630,000.
So that's how many milliliters the angels drink over the course of 8.5 months here at Stoller. And this number ends up being about 166 gallons.
There's a lot of elements of the wine process that I didn't know about. Today was fun to get kind of engulfed in Colin's world a little bit and see what makes him tick and what makes his passion stir, and I'm really excited tomorrow to head up to the mountain and bring him back into my world.
We decided to look towards the horizon at Mount Hood. Mount Hood is also a volcano that has had eruptions as recent as the late 1700s and even August in 1907. Now at 6,000 feet, there's a glacier called Palmer Glacier, where Timberline Ski Resort is located, and Amy is planning on getting me up there with Melissa and showing us how to actually hit the mountain.
The concept of winemaking paired with extreme sports, definitely interesting.
Shivering down through my knees. What's happened to me? What's happened to me? Wasted my time wondering.
I've been able to see kind of the mesh of, the wine world in the mountain world quite a bit because I've been able to travel in Europe, and they have such a good relationship with food and wine and lifestyle and the whole scene of the day. So it's cool to kind of see it come to life and be shown to the world here in the States as well.
So many people ask me how wine and extreme sports relate. And while you may think they are entirely separate, I would beg to differ. I find them both to be exciting, bold, and daring in their own ways, and they involve a sense of adventure and travel, community that constantly place me in new, exciting regions around the world and push me to try something new like I just have with Amy and Melissa.
I have loved, I have lost, I've let go and I've held on. I have emptied myself